to be a bit optimistic here, are you seeing perfectly healthy people come in trying to be preventative, or realistically, are we seeing a lot of people who are very advanced in the stages of their unhealthy lifestyle, where it came in for that debt, it's showing on their body, they're experiencing all these health problems, and like it's like, okay, it's a wake up call before like the real end of this.
Most people don't seek help until they're suffering. So most people, so if it's weight, they are tired of their BS excuses as to why they can't lose weight, and they acknowledge that they need help from somebody. They need accountability from somebody to meet their weight goals. Or if it's like, I also do a little bit of life coaching. So I've worked with a couple of people that have anxiety, so that if they feel that their anxiety is imposing on their ability to do their job, that's sort of the bleeding neck problem, where they're motivated to work with somebody. So a lot of times, you're right, there won't be a lot of proactivity. It's usually like they work with a health coach because they've tried other ways of getting healthy or solving the problem, and they have not been able to solve the problem themselves.
But how does the problem reach that level? Because me, if I just focus on myself, I feel like confident enough that if I even see my stomach just increase a little bit, or if I notice my back like is really having a problem there, or if I notice like eating junk food or all these stuff like is really having a negative impact on my life, I feel confident enough these days, at least, that I could stop it in its tracks. How is it with some people? They have ignored the warning labels, then they
Mm.
ignored the warning signs, then they ignored the danger signs, and
Mm.
it took a whole. In some cases, it took decades of bad living to get to a
Yeah.
point where they go to professionals like you or others to seek help. Is it so simplistic to say? And for me, I feel it is simplistic. Is it so simplistic to say like, oh, they're just lazy, oh, they're just weak, or are there like real like emotional, mental, environmental issues going on out there that are almost out of our hands, that kind of
Right.
drive us into this coping behavior that in the short term, sure, dopamine
Yeah.
hit, but in the long
Yeah.
term, you're kind of fucked.
Right. So,
Sorry, you are health compromised.
yes, health compromised. Um, I love your humor, by the way. So, we as humans are complex and dynamic beings. So that's why we can tell you all the livelong day. The nurse, the doctor, the dietitian can tell you, as a 41-year-old woman that has moderate exercise or not a lot of exercise, 1,500 calories. We can write that prescription and send you on your way. But if people, first of all, they need to understand what a serving size is, because people don't know what a serving size is for food. Secondly, they might be struggling with feelings of codependence or having boundary issues in terms of not being able to say no to their family or job, in terms of going to the gym. So there's many times other reasons why people are struggling. If information and data was all we needed to lose weight and heal pain, then we would have no obesity in the world. It's because that we are complex people, and we need sometimes that accountability to move forward.
Is it not just enough to want to live longer, or to at least be a person that doesn't cause pain to your loved ones because they are a witness in all of this?
Mm. So, and we can use that, the pain to the loved ones, or I'm working with a client where her kids are her motivation for making the change, because she could see, just like I could see, how eating to cope with feelings was demonstrating I was being a bad role model to my kid. She could recognize she was being a bad role model to her kid, and she wanted to be a better role model. So honestly, I can't force anybody to be ready. And what you say is true, George, in terms of people sometimes do. They can't change their behavior and they literally die early. That's the truth of it. And that's what I saw working in the critical care setting. Some things were, not preventable. Some things were truly genetic, but an awful lot of the patients that I took care of in the critical care setting were patients that it could have been prevented if they had just taken care of their body.
Yeah. Could you give us a few examples of how that looks like? Like visually, if I was seeing a person who never tried to be better and then the consequences of their lifestyle caught up with them, like how does that look? Because I would assume like they're as a nurse and also being involved in the work you're in,
Hmm.
you do see these people who are like pretty close to an emergency, you
Yeah.
know? And obviously, without naming any names and without too many identifying features, could you just give us how that
Yeah.
case looks?
So one particular experience comes to mind where someone was a smoker. And if you're a smoker for long periods of time, it slowly kills off your tissues. And this person had to have multiple toe amputations because they just could not break the habit of smoking. Another one is, someone losing the ability to walk because they just got so morbidly obese, they could not lift their own body weight anymore.
Again, I can't imagine reaching that point. Like it, at some
Yeah,
point, it has to be a serious mental issue that cannot just be said, "Oh, they're stubborn."
right. Oh, yeah. There's definite, for a lot of the patients, I'm sure there's trauma involved. There's a study that had demonstrated if you get to the point where you're obese and morbidly obese, there's a high likelihood that there was some sort of childhood trauma that went on. And so I just did a workshop actually on stress eating, emotional overeating, because again, if I can give you exactly what to eat. I can tell you exactly the amount of calories. But for some people, they need to understand their motivators for why they eat. Are they eating because it's their only reward system after a long, hard day, as opposed to taking a bubble bath or, doing a craft or talking to people? Are they eating because they don't want to feel vulnerable feelings, So it's the human factor that health coaching helps. We assist the human in making changes.
Would it be fair to say that by just being there, I mean, I think it's an added benefit. You are a professional and a nurse, definitely
Mhm.
complementary features. But is it fair to say that just being there and like kind of making them accountable a bit, but also not letting them feel so lonely to the point that
Right.
they just have to resort to like these cheap McDonald dopamine hits, that helps your presence?
100%. So it's all about accountability in a supportive environment. So someone's A plus might be someone else's F. And so I have to see where people are starting from. You know, so for one of the clients that I worked with, she wanted to go to the gym 5 days a week, and she hadn't been to the gym in 2 years. And I said, why don't you just go to the gym once as your first goal? Go to the gym once, because she had this idea, this perspective that everyone was looking at her, and she felt kind of self-conscious. When she achieved that goal, then we upped the ante to a higher goal. But it's very much about looking at where your starting point is, not where perfection is. You want to look at where your starting point is and making measurable progress.